So as somebody who specializes in anxiety, I work with a lot of people with post-traumatic stress disorder. In fact, one of the focuses of my practice is PTSD because it's such a common cause of anxiety. I was pretty excited when I got this question because it's just such an interesting thing to discuss. And the question was simply, how do I cope with my PTSD and my anxiety and my nightmares, the nightmares that come from my PTSD? What do I do? So to understand the answer to that question, it's really helpful to understand why PTSD causes nightmares. And so we'll talk a little bit about that real quick. I'm going to show you with my itty bitty pen. This thing drives me crazy. It's a little teeny, but I'll do my best to make it legible. So imagine that this is a diagram of your nervous system, okay? And you spend some time, like this is a bell curve of how the nervous system activation works. Down here is quote-unquote normal or settled. Up here is fight and flight. You're familiar with the fight-flight system, yes? And then up here is the freeze response. So just a brief overview. You probably are aware of some of this stuff, but just a brief overview. The fight-flight system is the response to being in danger or in a difficult situation of any kind. The freeze response happens when the body says, whoa, this isn't going to work. Let's just hold still and see if the danger passes if we don't do anything. When the freeze response happens, the body shuts down, it stops feeling pain, and it actually is sort of a comfortable experience some of the time. And we do a thing called dissociation, where we just kind of go off into a different place. We no longer have a bunch of strong emotions, we're just kind of settle down. When I have PTSD, what happens is more or less, and this is a gross oversimplification for time, PTSD is basically what happens when I get stuck into one or oftentimes both of these situations. So if I have PTSD, what that means is my fight-flight system is locked on all the time or overly sensitive all the time, and my freeze system is turned on. So a lot of times I won't even be aware that I'm really overly sensitive. And it will only come up periodically when my freeze wears off, which is where the nightmares come in with PTSD. So if I have somebody who has PTSD and they have bad nightmares, usually what I'm going to look at is a person who has a lot of freeze on board. So they were in a very difficult situation, usually for a prolonged period of time. I'm thinking right now of a war veteran I worked with for a while. This individual was in obviously life-threatening danger on a greatly regular basis. And anytime he wasn't in danger, he felt frozen, he felt numb, he felt a sense of disconnection and a sense of not connected to the world around him. And so that's what that was the freeze response that he was experiencing. So when we talk about the freeze response, when I lay down to sleep, what will happen is I'll cycle right through that freeze response. I'll go, okay, I'm asleep, and my body will process through this freeze response. Well, the problem is, right before I get into freeze, I'm either in terror or in rage. And when I come out of freeze, boop, I pop right back into terror or rage. And so that's what happens when I have a flashback while I'm sleeping, aka a nightmare related to post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder nightmare is just about a flashback that's happening while I'm sleeping. And so I will come out right here and I'll wake up at this space right here. I wake up drenched in sweat. I'll wake up enraged. I worked with a guy one time who would attack the person sleeping in bed with him sometimes when he would wake up in a nightmare and really be more or less blacked out. And this was actually somebody who had been very well trained to be very dangerous, so it was a serious problem for him. A couple of real practical solutions that you can take if you find yourself having nightmares with great regularity related to PTSD. One, understand that PTSD nightmares are an amygdala-based process, and what that means is the amygdala is generally being reminded of something in your environment, and you can sometimes try to change your environment and it will decrease the frequency of the challenges. One example I have is a guy who would get drug out of bed by his father and very badly beaten sometimes at night while he was sleeping, and so he really struggles to sleep in a bed. And this fellow is, he just sleeps on the floor now, or he'll sleep on his couch. So if you have experiences like that from your history, choosing not to be located in a bedroom when you sleep might be helpful. I can think of another example of a guy who was really triggered by the smell His wife changed to a different Glade thing and plugged it in, and the smell reminded him of a different situation or circumstance, and that triggered his PTSD really badly. So when they changed the plug in, so the smell was different in the room, they felt much, much better. Another real practical thing is a thing called bilateral stimulation. So when you're stuck in this place right here, your amygdala, the back part of your brain, is really, really, really active. Simply crossing and tapping on each side of your body is going to hit each side of this part of the brain and pull your amygdala up here. So that's something that I will teach people sometimes. Hey, when you wake up after a nightmare, do bilateral stimulation and see if it settles you down. That can be really, really useful. The other thing is simply the normal grounding exercises, coming into contact with your feet, coming into contact with your immediate environment, and kind of realizing where you were. So that is a summary of where nighttime flashbacks, aka nightmares, come from as they're PTSD related, and some simple tips that you can use to hopefully help decrease the severity of them, and maybe sometimes even make them go away. If you think this post is groovy, you can push the thumbs up button, you can like it. You could also invite some of your friends to this group. That's always helpful. You could also leave a comment, and if you have a question similar to this one that you'd like me to answer, feel free to leave me a message or post it in the forum, and I will be happy to take care of it for you. Thanks for tuning in today. If I can't think, there's something else I'd like to say at the end, and I can't remember what it is. Oh, if you want to go a little bit deeper in terms of your own journey through anxiety or anything else that you're working on, please feel free to reach out to me and contact me. I'll put a link down here for the class that I'm developing. I have a 30-minute class on anxiety, and you're welcome to check that out as well. Thanks, and have a great day.